Today, we're going to be going through the content portion of this. Keep in mind, this is content through the scope of local SEO. We still have our entire content module, so there will be some references to that as we get through it. But Elena and I have been meeting a lot about this program, the future of this program, and essentially everything that we do as an agency is really inside of this local SEO submodule. It's probably going to end up taking the entire module. We don't do anything non-local SEO anymore. I've talked extensively about why that is, just from a client services and results point of view. This is content from the scope of that, but it can also be applied to content from a holistic point of SEO. So we'll talk about all that. So when we talk about what's changed between what we've done for content creation in the past into where we're at now, I think the biggest thing is this program has been notorious for better, I think, and in my opinion for worse, because it becomes harder to sift through it all, but templates, documents, SOPs, and they float around in Word documents. A lot of you probably go through the program, you look at them once, and then they get lost somewhere in your Google Drive stratosphere, right? What's really awesome about AI is the ability to take these documents and feed them into a single point of reference, so we don't need them anymore. So things like page template briefs, outlines, writing guidance, tone, all that type of stuff, we don't have to have in all these separate documents anymore. We basically took them and fed them into a single GPT you are all going to get access to. It's called Legal SEO Content Brief Assistant, but in reality, it's very simple to translate it to other areas, and I'm going to show you how to do that in this. So it's what I'm really excited about, and that's what I was saying. It took me so long to put this portion together because I had to go through all these documents. I had to meet with Caesar, a couple people on our content team. There were a lot of looms flying around with them trying to educate me on the process that they've taken and built. And it's really at the point now where it's so simple, yet the output is so powerful in terms of the content that it produces, but most importantly, the performance of that content in search engines. It's very exciting. And I think this, when we think and we talk about AI from our job point of view, not at a macro point of view, this is really where it's utilized best. It's for process automation. It's for speeding things up. Caesar and I were talking before this call, and he was talking about how now we're able to get through the content from idea in your head to fully written, published on a website in less than 30 minutes per page. That's incredible. It's truly, truly incredible. And what that does for the operations of your business in terms of your hiring, your pricing, your margins, all of that stuff is very, very impactful. So this one in particular, we're just going to get right into the SOP because that's where everything is. We're going to be doing a lot of demonstration on today's call. So let's go ahead, jump down to step 9 here. So like I said, this is really talking about content through the scope of local SEO. Today, we're going to be really just talking about service pages, practice area pages, location pages, whatever we're calling them, but basically the service page. We've talked in the past about why these are so important. This is ultimately what ranks in Google. If you go to Google and type in like Miami junk removal, right? I'm going to be using this as an illustration for you all today, but you can see the pages that are ranking. These are location, practice area. We call them practice area, I'm sorry, because it's lawyers, but it's basically service pages, right? Or service area pages. They're incredibly important from the ranking point of view. It's also what gets cited in ChatGPT search, all these different things. So that's really the focus of this, but the same process can of course be applied for blog content because we do apply this for blog content as well. So this is a very simple 4-step process. It's content planning. We're going to create a page outline. We're going to create the actual content, and then we're going to publish it onto a presumed WordPress website. And that's everything. You can see how truncated this is. Our past content documents, I mean, I'm telling you, it took me hours and hours and hours and hours to dig through that. And that's really great because they're very thorough, but it's also incredibly time consuming. And the big promise of this specific local SEO update was we were going to really leverage AI. And this is where we really start getting into it, the core focus of how we're leveraging AI to speed things up. So the first thing that we're going to do is you're going to make a copy of this new content workbook. And what's really cool about this is you only have to put in a few different inputs, and then it's going to automatically spit out the AI prompt that we're going to use for the GPT. So I'm using the example of Miami junk removal. The reason is because this is very top of mind. I'm in the process of buying a franchise actually here in Miami for junk removal and dumpster rentals. Like if you're renovating your home, you need to rent a dumpster to like take out all the materials and all that different stuff. You can't just throw it away. I'm in the process of buying into that. So this is very top of mind for me. It's also excited for you all because we get to go through this process together. It's going to be quite a while until I actually acquire the business, but it's very top of mind for me right now. So I'm kind of killing 2 birds, 1 stone and doing some research and looking at the SERPs and understanding what the competition here is in Miami for all these different types of queries and terms, all these different things. But essentially what we're doing here is we're just using this as a content workbook to create these things. So if we come back here to just the previous step, when we went through the website architecture, you do a website crawl, do the gap analysis here, you should have a list, if not written down in your head, of the pages that need to be created to round out the rest of the website. That's what you're going to put in here, right? So if we were going through this, it would be I don't know, it would be all, if we were, again, single location, right? And let's say I'm building this site from scratch, it would be like Miami dumpster rental. And these are the topics that be essentially, you can think of it like a page title or a page topic that is going to round out the rest of the page. So dumpster rental, and then all the subqueries of that too. I don't know them off the top of my head, but essentially, you know, this is easily applied to law or in the legal space. If it's a personal injury attorney, it would be Miami personal injury attorney, Miami car accident attorney, Miami slip and fall attorney, all the sub practice areas that fall under the personal injury umbrella. We talked about this exhaustively in the previous video. So if you didn't watch that, make sure to go back and see that. But again, I'm going to start with just Miami junk removal here. So it's location page. So we're just going to tag it as that, the location. And then what this calls you to do is get 3 competitor URLs. So all you have to do is just query the keyword. You come to Google and then you just pop open the top 3 results. You can also take them from GBP as well, but I like to use these ones because these are the ones ranking. You want to skip over Yelp pages. You only want to try and find, you know, like location-based pages just like this. You have the URLs, you dump them in here. You can put in some internal links here too as well. This is optional, you don't have to, but where you'd want these to link to on the website. And then this is going to automatically spit out the prompt that we're going to then take and use to build out the page outline. So that's it. And there's also a little video here if you want to watch it while you're going through this, if you need help just doing what I just did, but it's very, very simple. So there's a link here to the GPT that I'm discussing with you. Again, it's called the Legal SEO Brief Assistant, but you're going to see it doesn't really matter. I'm literally just going to take this here and I'm going to paste it in. I'm just going to remove the quotes here. I'm just going to take a quick look at this, make sure we're good. All right. So competitor URLs, I'm actually going to remove these little dashes here and I'm going to remove the internal links here too, because I have that for later, but you're just going to paste that in. Now I will give a word of warning. Sometimes ChatGPT will come back and say, I couldn't crawl the URLs. If that's the case, then you just go to the page and just copy everything and paste it in. And then it'll have all the content needed from that page in order to put this together. So it was able to crawl these, which is good. And then it goes through and again, it lists out all the different SEO terms that we want, recommended, meta, and page title. I'm just like telling you right now, these are things that we're going to be reviewing in very detail in editing as we get through this process. But you can see that, as again, I was showing you here, we basically took all these documentations in terms of page templates, in terms of writing style, very, very detailed guidance went into building this GPT that now it spits out an outline for us. So this page outline is done. Is it 100% done? Again, it's good enough to start getting this stuff written out. So all you have to do is take this, and then we like to use Claude, and in the content inside of, just show you real quick, inside of School, the current one, and this will always be updated. I'm going to be updating this in the next couple months as well. Service Mastery here, and then you come to Content Sprint. When you come in here, you're going to see a lot of guidance about how to build projects inside of Claude and GPT, so you can refer back to that. But all you're going to do is you're going to take that exact prompt, and I already have this done, so I'll just review this with you. You take the exact same prompt and just say, please use this page brief to write the full page. And then it literally writes it for you, right? So now within a minute or less, you've got a page outline done. And if you want to present that to the client too, you just copy and paste this into a Word document, bang, you've got that done. It's a delivery you can provide that to the client. So if you're only doing page briefs, here it is, it's done in a single prompt. If you're writing the content, here it is now completely written. So what I'll do is, when we come back to the SOP, what you're going to see here is this. I'm just going to highlight, underline this. This is really important. The thing with AI writing, Caesar and I were discussing this before, earlier today too, is that when we try and teach this, it's so hard because historically we were giving you documents and be like, hey, it's a checklist, just go do it, right? But this is much more of a thinking process. I've talked about this a lot in terms of getting this information where you need to get to, because like one of the biggest challenges about AI now is you're going to go through this and you'll be like, wait a second, Ryan, this doesn't look exactly like what you showed me in the video. What's going on? It's not me, it's ChatGPT. Okay. There's always going to be a little bit of difference, a little bit of distinction, and that's where you as the human need to come into play. So again, we're not using this to completely automate, right? The problem that we have with AI agents is that when you leave AI to its own devices, you miss out on the details, which which costs a lot when it comes to performance, when it comes to grammar, all that type of stuff. It's always going to miss stuff for the foreseeable future as we're teaching this right now. So you're not done yet. I have some like kind of follow-up things that you always want to go through with a prompt, reprompt, fact checking as you go through this information, this content, right? I'm notorious for this because I'm not a reader. I'm a skimmer. I'm slightly dyslexic. I don't read very well. So for me to like, I can't sit and like read this inside of here. I'm just much more of a skimmer. So having prompts can help. So what I noticed in this initial one is that it didn't include the FAQs. Again, sometimes that happens, but we always want to make sure that there's FAQs in here. So this is kind of like a checklist that you can use. So the first thing I wrote was we need to add a list of FAQs at the bottom of the page. Can you brainstorm a list and write them in, right? So it came up with these FAQs here. Cool. Again, I'm just skimming them, making sure that they're okay, making sure that everything is good. I then asked it, right? And again, I have these prompts and stuff in here. What other elements should be included on this page in order to make it rank in Google? I like to go through and query this, even though we have already built this. Again, it's going to miss these things. So this is where we're going through and checking it. We're still dramatically speeding up our process and experience here, but these are some other things that I recommended. Schema, structured data markup. I like it. Location specific content sections. Junk removal pricing guide for Miami. I like that. I like that. Why? Because when we think about the querying of what somebody would be looking for in this type of business, junk removal pricing Miami is probably going to be a pretty big one, and especially a pretty bottom funnel one, meaning that they're pretty in touch. However, what you need to do is we need to make sure that we cross-check this information, right? We can either Google it ourselves or we just ask the client, which is usually the easiest thing to do. But you know, we don't want to present inaccurate information. Again, that's one of the biggest risks of using AI here, is that the information is not always going to be the most accurate. Regulations in terms of Miami waste disposal, right? Another solid one. Comparative content, different types of things you can put in here. Hyper local geographic content, neighborhood specific. These are cool too, because then these become internal linking opportunities. And again, when we're talking about being able to save this much time when creating and writing content, instead of it taking a week from a writer to do, or, you know, a couple hours, we can say, okay, we've already got this done now. Now we can just kind of rewrite these and respin these through for each one of these neighborhoods. So this is where we can really start to scale production output. So I like having these other neighborhoods here. If we're going to target these for junk removal Brickell, junk removal Coral Gables, you know, in the conversation of how do we make sure that these are different than the other ones? Well, if we're using the same thread here, which you should be, you can make sure to say, hey, for Brickell, right, we want to talk to the high rises. We want to talk to, I mean, it already put it in here, right? Like the nuances of Brickell, which is a downtown, all high rise, a lot of commercial high rise buildings there as well. We want to talk to that from a junk removal process versus Coral Gables, historic. I mean, it's speaking for me, right? Historic homes, probably a lot of strict. It's a very, very wealthy neighborhood too. So they probably have a lot of regulations about maybe time pickups, where to park on the side. And then visual elements. I usually, these are good thoughts, right? But these, I'll kind of show you how I put this stuff together afterwards. But these are good thoughts and good ideas for you to have. Trust signals and proof, badges for Google reviews, Yelp ratings, Facebook reviews, Better Business Bureau. I like all these things. And then more service pages as that as well, long tail opportunities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So then I just said, let's add all those things in. Please give me the full version now. And now it gave me the full, our heads out of here, the full page here, right? So we've got now, and again, I'm just skimming through this here. But when we go through and we look at this, it looks good. This looks like a solid page. It looks like it hits everything we need. And now it's very robust too. There's a lot of information on this page, which is always good. So what's next in the process? Well, what's next in the process, and now we get directly into the content publishing stage. So you can already see here, right? Like there's opportunities for you to customize this. You know, maybe at this point you say, well, I have a writer full time, or I have a writer that I like. You can have them go through and edit it, right? And Caesar and I were talking about this before. Caesar, I'll kind of let you talk to like how we're adjusting our process here, which is producing this content very fast and then passing it to an expert really down at this bottom stage here, the content publishing stage, which I'll talk about in a second. But Caesar, if you want to talk a little bit about what you were telling me earlier about making this a linear process for people.
Yeah, so making the process linear. Before, we had 4 people involved in this process. We had the SEO to do the content ideation, competitor analysis, and all that stuff. Then we'd have somebody to just work on the briefs. Again, we were doing a brief for every page, so we needed a specific person for that. Then a writer to take that brief and turn it into content. A content editor. I actually missed it. We had 5 people. A content editor to then edit the content, and then a person to upload. And this is all, they're working in a silo. So because of this process and because we're able to expedite it so much, we can basically just have one person do all of this. And it makes it a lot easier to plan too, because what happens with the old system that we had before, since there's certain parts of it that you can get faster, that you can get done faster pages than the other. For example, it's faster to do a page brief than it is to write the content or to edit it. That creates bottlenecks. So we would have like tons of pages that were ready to be published, but the publisher just couldn't keep up with it. So this system here just allows us to plan better and just streamline the process a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of the content publishing process, I like to use a platform called Wordable. Again, this is under the assumption that your client is using WordPress. I would say 100% of our clients are. I'd imagine it's close to yours as well. What I like about this is now it is very simple to just copy this into a Word document. And the reason why I don't like to paste this directly into WordPress is because there are all sorts of issues that come up with formatting and like coding on the back end that just look a little bit funky. Wordable takes care of that. It's super simple. I'm just going to go ahead and you just log into your Google account and then you will see all your documents here. But essentially what it does, it pulls it in and then you just transport it over directly and then it puts it into the back end of your WordPress automatically. It's very slick. It's pretty cheap too. It's like $20 a month or something like that. Susie says you can also publish to WordPress directly with Search Atlas. Did not know that. So other tools you can use, Search Atlas. Again, I just like it. It's a quicker formatting. And then once you have it up there, this is like old school SEO stuff, not telling you anything new. Internal links, 3 to 5, right? Sometimes it could be more than that, just depending, just as a baseline. External links, this is really if applicable, right? So if you are, we go back to our article here and it's citing things like HOAs coming from Coral Gables or something along waste disposal regulations, right? So if this, you can just take this, search for it, and we can add an external link to something like this, right? We just find the necessary part here. I like it because one, it gives additional supporting information to the reader, but also from Google's point of view, it's citing, a government website, an authority, and it's just good for search rankings as well. Add images and video. I like to do, you don't have to go too overboard here, especially because if we're working with a client page layout, which I'm going to show you something in a second that might help clear up some of that, but this is where it gets a little bit tricky. And somebody asked this inside of our inner circle community yesterday on our coaching call. They said the client has a very specific page template, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So let's look at something like this, right? Like let's say they have this existing page template here and we've got 8,500 words. That's probably a little bit much. We probably actually want to cut that down. I would say around like 2,500 is where we usually get to. So this I would just go back into Claude and chop this down. Just got a little bit out of control. But when we're working with something like this, what you can also then do is you can feed it the page template, right? You can take a screenshot of this page template. I use this tool here called Go Full Page. You can take a screenshot of it and then you can feed it back to the AI and say, this is the existing page template that they have. Are you able to make this text fit into these subsections that they have here? So this is one option. You can just download that. The other one, you just download the PNG and then feed it back in. The other option is to just go through manually and map it. And then the final thing would be to, it looks like they have here, they have like additional different page options here. The other thing is to add like FAQs towards the bottom, which you can add more content into. This section could be longer. There's no like simple fix for it because basically what the person inside of Inner Circle was asking was, he's like, hey, we don't have the ability to change the page template. They're very strict about their design. How do I manage and work that in? And it is a fine balance, right? There's some brands or companies that you might work with that are protective over their brand and saying like, you're not just going to put 3,000 words onto a page. Well, that's where you as an SEO consultant says, look, you've only got 500 words. The top competitors all have 2,000 plus. If you want to rank, we need to increase this. So if you're concerned about your brand, then we can talk about redesigning this page template to match and fit what we're trying to get. So we're not just jamming words on the page. It's just the conversation that you need to have with them. But generally speaking, you're going to want to get as much content on the page as possible because it's just going to perform the best. With that being said, I put some page layouts into this Figma file that you can review. When we come across a website like that, like personally, I don't think that these over-designed pages perform any better than a simple page that I'm going to show you. One, to me, there's just a lot going on these pages. And it's not necessarily conversion focused. And two, 95% of this traffic is on mobile. So you can do all the cute layout things that you want, but it's going to get truncated based on mobile anyway. So the layout that I like here is we have this location service page template. We like to install this for our clients if they don't have something, if they don't have a page template or they have something that's just like, we just can't work with it. And it's very, very simple. It's just, this is a sticky bar on the side. We actually use this on our website as well. I can show you some page templates that we use this with as well. We use this for our case study template, which I'll show you right now. Literally took this exact same thing and just reskinned it there. Caesar, just call to action here. You can see it sticks on the side. And then it's basically just almost like a blog post format where we can just add a lot of text. It's very readable. It's very scannable. You can add images in. It gets the job done. It might not be the prettiest page from a design point of view, but it performs good from a search point of view and from a readability point of view, which for the most part, if you think about it, if somebody's looking for this type of, if they're looking for like a car accident lawyer, or if they're looking for an HVAC service, you don't need stuff flying around the page. You don't need video headers. You just need to get the information that they're looking for and allow Google to index it and AI search index it very well. So basically what we have here designed here is a H1 title, little subsection here for a summary, location, phone number, and reviews. This allows you to mark it up with schema. And then it just goes into a very simple, it's basically a blog post format, same type of thing. H2s, bullet points, how images look like, block quote, videos, a table, right? We like to put tables on this stuff too. And then at the bottom here, a map, office hours in bed, and then more to explore stuff down here as well. So this template is yours to use. The mobile version is here as well. If a client doesn't have this, this becomes very simple to just have a designer reskin. Again, it's something that we've done for a number of clients now that didn't have a page template. You just design it into WordPress, and now you've got a page that is flexible to be used for all this type of content, right? So when we talk about service pages, location pages, this page template just does very well for it. And that's it. That's the entire thing. Like I said, it's very simple. It took me, believe it or not, it took me 2 weeks, 8 to 10 hours worth of work to put this together, but you can see how simplified this has gotten. And Caesar too, if you want to talk to the performance of this, because if some of you are over there being like, yeah, I don't know, this just kind of seems like a lot of AI, you didn't even read it. I said, I'm not a reader. You should have somebody go through this with a very fine tooth comb to make sure that it's accurate, relevant, all that type of stuff. But it's so much faster and cheaper than paying a writer to like $800 per page to do this type of work. And Caesar, you've seen how this type of stuff is performing for us. If you want to talk to that for a minute.
Yeah, I'll say that we've spent the past few weeks testing, refining, just making sure that the final prompt, one of the things that we ran into issues with, and I'm sure a lot of you guys out there have noticed as well, is AI doesn't do very well with mega prompting when you give it too much information. So we need to strike a balance between how often we're telling it to revise the content as well. If it has to go through 2 or 3 revisions, you're going to find that third one is completely different than the first one. So just a lot of trial and error. But from what we're seeing, first of all, like my biggest concern with AI was, okay, like, is it going to get published? Is it going to get indexed? Is it going to rank? And I can say, at least from a local level, we have not seen any issue with that at all. A lot of these pages are popping up at the very top inside of the featured snippet at the top, getting traffic. And then what we do is we have it set up in our project management system where when a page gets published, the date gets noted, and then 30 days, 60 days out, the person who is managing that account will then go in and view the performance of the page, go into Search Console, see what it's ranking for, see what its position is. And for those pages that we can consider to be winners, whether they're ranking well, driving traffic, and that sort of thing, this is by nature a fast process. So we're not spending a ton of time on this. We're basically just launching a lot of pages and then seeing what performs. And then we'll go back and maybe fine and tune or tweak the content a bit, add some better persuasive language and everything, so that if it's a practice area page in our case, to make sure that we're capitalizing on as much conversion opportunities as possible. If we need to add rich media at that point, like, we give it a lot more attention at that point, but we know that you don't need all those bells and whistles to rank. So the first thing for us is get it to rank. And then once it does, now we're working with something that is workable, and we're not spending a bunch of time doing all this stuff preemptively when we have no idea if a page is going to bomb or not.